Hi, it's V, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie from 2023 called Infinity Pool. As the movie begins, we see James and Em in their hotel bed, their sleep cut short by the harsh rays of the Croatian sun. The couple gets up and prepares for a day out, while the locals gather nearby for an eerie-sounding event called The Summoning. From a distance, we can see grotesque masks adorning the faces of the participants. Now, over breakfast, Em right here raves about the local cuisine and the quaint streets, but James seems a little disinterested. The atmosphere between them is tense, and we can sense that something is brewing beneath the surface. After breakfast, James heads to a racing event where he meets Gabby Bauer, a young woman who claims to be a fan of his only book. Gabby invites him to dinner with her and her husband Albin. It was a dark and eerie night when the Fosters arrived to join the Bauers for a meal. Gabby, who claimed to be an actress working in commercials, was quick to make an impression. James, however, seemed to lack inspiration for his next book. Em's wealthy family was also a topic of conversation, but the couple soon hit the dance floor. The next day, Em couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling she had upon learning about the high crime rate targeting foreigners in Litolka. To her surprise, Gabby and Albin invited them for a drive to the countryside, despite the resort's strict rules against leaving. The couple spent the afternoon soaking up the sun on the beach. As James excused himself, Em opened up about how her father disapproved of him and his career as a publisher, but she didn't care because she was in love. Meanwhile, James found a quiet spot to relieve himself, only to be caught by Gabby, who began to pleasure him to completion. The whole experience left James feeling confused and vulnerable. The night comes and the couple stagger their way back to the resort. James, who is behind the wheel, accidentally hits a pedestrian crossing the street, leading to the man's unfortunate death. Fear and chaos grip everyone present, but they hurriedly move the body to the side of the road and continue their journey. Albin takes over the driving duties from James and they head back to the resort. Look at their faces, they're so scared. The next day, James is scared by a knock on his door, and the visitors at the door are none other than the officers who arrest him for the hit and run. The Fosters are taken to the police station where James comes face to face with Detective Thresh. Thresh reveals to James that the car he drove belonged to his uncle, and he has a proposition for him. He urges James to lie and say that the Bauers stole the car as they have already confessed to the crime. Thresh explains that in Litolka, the policy for crimes such as hit and run is death, and the family's eldest son must execute the perpetrator to protect the family's honor. However, Detective Thresh right here gives James an alternative option, which involves him cloning himself, and his double will take the blame for the crime. This policy is exclusive to wealthy visitors in Litolka. James decides to accept Thresh's offer, and the cloning process is initiated. As James stepped into the chamber, the red liquid coated his body. The procedure began, and he found himself experiencing surreal and trippy visions. In one of them, he saw Gabby walking around him in the nude. Finally, the process was over, and James and Em were introduced to James' clone. They were then invited to witness a chilling execution where the eldest son of the victim showed up and brutally stabbed the doppelganger to death. Em was understandably horrified, especially when the clone begged for mercy. Overcome by what she had just seen, Em was desperate to leave the resort, but James had other plans. He pretended to lose his passport as an excuse to stay and urged Em to leave without him. She obliged, leaving James behind to extend his stay at the resort. It wasn't long before he was approached by Gabby, who enlightened him about the dark and twisted reality of the resort. It turned out that the Infinity Pool was developed a part of a deal that had gone bad. Now, you see, during its construction, 2 workers were killed, and the Bauers were arrested and sentenced to death. However, their discovery of cloning had kept them alive. As Gabby led James to meet with Albin and other tourists who had their own clones created, the full extent of the horror dawned on him. The resort was a haven for the guilty, a place where they could escape punishment for their crimes by replacing themselves with their own clones. As the group geared up with their masks, they embarked on a journey of decadence. They invaded the residence of a wealthy couple in the throes of passion and mercilessly tied them up. But their escapade took a twisted turn when they were ambushed by another visitor who fired a gun at them. Gabby retaliated with gunfire, leaving Albin wounded in the leg. Their plan was revealed, and they had to come up with a new strategy. So they decided to create doppelgangers for each of them, and they sat down to watch their doubles' executions, treating it like a macabre spectacle. Later on, James returned to his hotel room only to find Em still there. disgusted by his decision to stay at the resort. In a heartless tone, he ordered her to run back to her dad. As the night progressed, James indulged in a drug-fueled carnal affair with Gabby, partaking in these kind of stuffs with her. In the evening, James joined the group who had decided to break into a mysterious facility. Once inside, they began to ruthlessly beat a man who was blindfolded and had a bag over his head. James unleashed his fury on the man until he unveiled his face, revealing a shocking surprise. The man was one of James' own doppelgangers. This revelation left James feeling rattled and unsure of what to do next, so he sought refuge in the bathroom. After a while, James regained his composure and decided to leave. He grabbed his passport and boarded a bus to escape the scene. But little did he know, Gabby and her gang were right behind him, chasing the bus down the road. Gabby fired a gun at the vehicle, determined to take James down. Eventually, they forced him out of the bus and made him walk in front of their car. Gabby took pleasure in taunting James, revealing that she never actually read his book, and even reciting one of the reviews it received, which was a very bad review. Now, James tried to flee, but Gabby shot him in the leg, causing him to stumble and limp away as far as he could from the group. Later on, James stumbled upon a farm, collapsing from exhaustion. The farmers took pity on him and took him in, but little did he know that he was about to experience something far more terrifying than he ever thought possible. James began to experience hallucinations of the eldest son of the hit-and-run victim, who appeared out of nowhere, choking him mercilessly. He also saw visions of M joining the group, tormenting him in every possible way. As he attempted to leave, Gabby and her group appeared out of nowhere, blocking his path. They forced him to go through with his transformation by having him kill his own double. James was reluctant at first, but as the double attacked him like a wild animal, he had no choice but to defend himself. He beat the double to death, leaving him feeling broken and defeated. Now as James broke down, Gabby comforted him, holding him close and letting him suckle on her breast. So the next day, James called M to apologize for his nasty behavior and to say that he was going home even though he was a piece of shit. Now, he boarded a bus with the rest of the group, but as they waited at the airport, something inside of James changed. He is now an alien, and he realized that he wasn't ready to leave the resort. So he made the decision to return just as the stormy season began. He sat by the pool, soaking wet in the pouring rain, completely broken from the experience, and little did he know that he would never be the same again. And this was the story of Infinity Pool. Subscribe to me, subscribe to the channel. I love you. See you in the next one.